So I've been using the iMac Pro for about 2 weeks now, and it's pretty rad. I know for a lot of you guys, you've been working on the trash can Mac Pros, or you've been using the 5K iMacs for photography and cinematography. A lot of you guys that are PC users, dude, thumbs up to you. You guys are rocking it. So I mainly use my iMac Pro for photo and video editing, but today I wanted to take some time and show you guys how the iMac Pro handles photos, specifically in Capture One, in Lightroom, and doing some editing in Photoshop. So let's take a look at that and just see how it performs. All right, so here we go. This is my iMac Pro. Let's go into About This Mac. And I'm gonna read this like my computer is a professional athlete. This is the iMac Pro 2017, 3.2 gigahertz Intel processor, 32 gigs of RAM, and 8 gigabyte video card. Again, these are impressive specs. 32 gigs of RAM seems a little on the low side, especially in 2017, but as you're gonna see, that 32 gig of RAM actually holds up really well for this base model iMac Pro. And again, I am using the base model iMac Pro, and it's been impressive so far, and we'll get into my likes and dislikes later on in the video, but so far so good. I'm happy with my decision. So just a side note, I am running OBS behind the scenes just for screen capture that is using some of the processor. I do have this set up to record to an external SSD, so we're not going to be using the onboard external SSD because we're going to be using that in Capture One. So again, OBS is running behind the scene, just so that you guys know. So let's open Capture One 11. This is the new iteration of Capture One, which I am also impressed with. It's been pretty awesome. I still use Lightroom for some editing, only because Capture One doesn't allow the GFX 50S to be native into Capture One 11. Basically, I can't edit my photos natively in Capture One 11 because of the whole medium format thing, which has been a complete bummer, to be honest. I wish Capture One would just say, hey, we realize that you are a competitor, but we are going to support the Fuji GFX 50S in our system, and we can move on. But because they do not, I am still using Lightroom for some editing, and I do have some old catalogs that I've set up for weddings and different things in Lightroom, and so I just let those live there, and I'm pretty much starting new in Capture One. So yeah, here, as you guys see, Capture One's now open. And these are files, actually, if you've seen any of my other videos, my workflow is basically I take a shoot, I back it up to an old dinosaur drive or old big external spinning drive just for sheer backup, and then I'll back up those files to the cloud, and then I'll take those files and transfer them to an edit drive is what I call it, which is basically one of my external SSDs. And I'll edit all my image files actually off the SSD, and the catalog and the image files will live on the SSD just to speed up the process of loading in these gigantic images. The images that we're going to be working with today are the Sony a7R III RAW files, which are just gigantic image files. Some of you guys aren't going to be using files this big, and that's okay. But if you are, that's why you have an iMac Pro, or you considered the iMac Pro. To show off the sheer speed of the iMac Pro today, though, I'm going to not be editing off one of these SSD drives, so I am, again, breaking one of my rules, or not necessarily a rule, but just not doing what I've talked about in other videos. I'm going to edit from the actual desktop so that you guys can see the speed of the external SSD here in the iMac Pro. So let's go ahead and import, and I'm going to show you the folder I chose from so you know I'm not pulling anything crazy. So iMac Pro review right off my desktop. We're going to open that up, which are these 4 image files. Again, these are the a7R III RAW image files, which I'm going to be having links to pretty soon in my review of my Sony a7R III video. But for now, these are the files that we're working with. We're going to import them, and just like that, they're in. So again, we're talking about really large image files here, and let's just go into the desktop here. And you guys can see these are 85 megabyte, 86 megabyte photo files. So not small image files. These are gigantic, uncompressed RAW files from the Sony a7R III. And Capture One had no problem bringing those files in and importing. Again, these were only 4 RAW files, but as you guys could see, the speed of just bringing these in was incredibly fast. So no problem there with the hard drive or working from the internal SSD on the iMac Pro. What's really great about the internal SSD on the iMac Pro, from what I've been told, is that it's actually set up in a RAID. So that's interesting. So it's actually two 512 SSDs. I don't want to be completely, I'm not 100% sure of that, but from everything that I've read and everything I've seen from the teardown video so far, there's two SSDs in the iMac Pro that are actually in a RAID. So I think that's what's giving the iMac Pro the sheer speed from the SSD. So, okay, so let's just pick one of these files. We're gonna go ahead and go with this. And you guys, if you guys can see here, zooming in and out on these files, that's at 400%, but no problems at all. Like, we're able to go in here, we're able to go in, look at the files as we need to, zoom out, everything's great. Let's go into here and just make some adjustments. So let's just say exposure, contrast, we'll add some contrast back in. We can maybe tear down that highlight a little bit. Let's do a mask. This will be fun so we can see. We'll start a new layer, which is one of the things I love, again, about Capture One, is it's the way that you can work with layers. But, ooh, you got that spinning wheel. There you go. All right, so we're just going to come in here and make a layer on her face. And I can just kind of zoom in here, take down that brush. And we're going to go in, just make... And I'm not going to perfect this. This isn't a tutorial on how to retouch skin. This is just showing off the iMac Pro and its ability to handle big raw files inside of Capture One and in Lightroom, as we'll see. So, and in Photoshop. We're going to bring this into Photoshop as well. So let's just zoom back down. Just check my... Here we go. Sorry, I'm going to be quiet as I'm... It's like chewing bubble gum and talking and walking at the same time. It's kind of impossible. So as I'm making these edits, I might be quiet for a second. I apologize for that. But let's just use the erase tool here and erase some of the stuff off of her eyes and lips. And there we go. That mask isn't perfect. Don't judge my mask. But again, this is just to give you guys something to gauge on how good the iMac Pro is with these photo files. And it should be. Again, if it's supposed to be ripping through video files, image files, should be no problem. But again, these are gigantic raw A7R3 files. And if you're going to buy a $5,000 computer, you might want to know how it handles images, especially in a program like Capture 111 or Lightroom. Okay, so let's go into the skin tones. We're just going to select a nice skin tone here. I think maybe like that looks good. I'm going to extend out my range. And I'm just going to go in here and adjust. Sorry, I'm used to using my Wacom tablet. I'm using the mouse right now, so I'm not the best mouse user in the world, so I apologize for that. So here we can change kind of the hue, like where you get those, everyone says the Sony kind of has that green look to it. I haven't dealt with that so much, but you can actually change those colors in here really easily. Saturation, how much, so like she looks dead here. We're here, we just bring back that saturation. The lightness, how light and dark the skin is, and then how much of that hue is actually over the whole skin tone. So it's basically taking the hue that I chose and just spreading out those skin tones across her whole face, so it's more uniform. Again, this is the saturation of that, and then this is how this basically kind of gives you like that soft look over the face. It fills in. I don't really like this feature too much. I don't use it, but again, this is kind of just bringing the face and just bringing those skin tones more into a uniform look. And if you look through my, let's just click on the layer on and off. Here we go. You can kind of see the before and after. So you can see there's that kind of greenish tint in her face. And just bringing the skin tones back and making it more uniform. You can see here it was just really easy to do. And the iMac Pro had no problem making those changes really, really easily. Okay, so I would completely keep working on this image in Capture One, but I do want to show off the iMac Pro. This is what this is for. So we're just basically going to go in. We're going to go edit with Photoshop, which is what I would do next if this image was completely finished. it needs a crop. There's like little things that are just bugging me now. If you guys ever just sit here and edit files, you're just like, okay, like step 1, step 2. So I want to go into this and give you a tutorial on on Capture One and editing, but this is again just showing off the iMac Pro. Okay, so if I was going to do some skin retouching, let's just do a layer. For quickness, there's a million ways to do this, so don't yell at me through your screen. That's not the best way to do it. All right, so here we go. Just going to come in, just do some retouching. Perfect. That wasn't great. That's gonna bug me, but we'll get it okay. Great. Retouch. Perfect. Okay. So again, no hiccups, nothing going on. I can even come in here, flatten this image, duplicate this layer, and then I can come in and just keep working with no problems. And I'm just gonna lighten underneath her eyes with there we go. Same thing here. Perfect. I'm gonna back up and just see what this looks like. See if I've gone too far. If I feel like I have, then I can just adjust the opacity here and just bring it back. But it's for the sake of just showing off the iMac Pro. I like where it's at. It's okay. I can actually duplicate this file again, or let's just compress this down. Let's just flatten it and then duplicate this layer. And I'm gonna do some liquidify so you guys can see what that looks like. And again, these are just small. You don't ever want to go too far here. I know a lot of people that just get heavy-handed with liquidify and yeah, so these are just small touches. I'll go extreme here so you guys can just see how it's handling it. And the iMac Pro again has no problem working with these files. And okay, let's just see our before and after. Great. Okay, that's not anything that I would deliver to the client or post online. There are some changes that need to be made, but for the sake of we can even go back and it's gonna bug me. So let's just go to liquidify. Sorry, I'm going to make this video speed up in a second. But again, you kind of get the point. Like, the iMac Pro is handling these files fine. I've reopened this and kept working and everything is good. No hangups. Okay, perfect. Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna for the sake of time, but you get what's going on. You get what I would do. I can flatten that out. Saving this back, this will actually go right back into Capture One. And here we are. There's our raw file, which is completely undestructed, and then here's our PSD, which is the one that we brought into Photoshop and made some of the changes. I can even go in here now and, like I said, make that crop that I wanted to make, which it's not the end of the world, but. And when you're working, one of the nice things when you're working with the A7R III, the ability to crop because you have those 42 megapixels is awesome. So that is a big side of a giant megapixel camera, is that you're able to crop. Okay, so Capture One 11. Again, these files are coming straight from the desktop. No issues, no problems. Man, the iMac Pro does a great job. I mean, you can sit in here and create more layers if you want and work on different things. Come in here, invert the mask, and do different things here. Again, the iMac Pro just eats right through this. So let's go ahead and close down Capture One. We're not going to back up. And let's just go right into Lightroom. And again, this Lightroom is on the internal SSD. And yep. So let's come into here. I'm just going to delete these real quick. From the desktop again. And here we go, iMac Pro review. There's our files. Even the Photoshop file that was brought in from Capture One is in there. Well, let's go ahead and import it. Why not? Import. And there we go. Our import is completed. Let's open these up. And oops, apologize. Here we go. So you guys can see that these are open. That was our file from Photoshop. Okay, perfect. And that was our file before. So, okay, so let's choose a new file here. Again, the liquify demonstration, don't liquify your people that far. I just wanted to show off the iMac Pro. But again, everyone has their own style. I would just say don't go heavy-handed on that. But for the sake, again, we will go heavy-handed. Okay, so here we go. Same thing. I can warm this up a little bit. There we go. Exposure. Let's add some contrast back in. Saturation. Let's just kind of come into this and desaturate a little bit the whole image overall. Perfect. I'm just going to go into our skin here and see how I can just click and drag and change saturation here in the HSL in Lightroom. So I'm just going to come in and just bring some more warmth to her skin. I can even bring it a little bit more. Perfect. I don't want to make her too orangey, but that's okay. This isn't a tutorial on how to work with skin tones. This is just showing up the iMac Pro. Really easy. And again, that's just right here in the HSL. And you can actually choose any color if you're not familiar with this, and just change any color here you want with these sliders. Okay. No problems there. Let's just go in and what else do we want to do? We can sharpen. For a lot of you guys that are shooting raw, you might want to come in here and just make a quick sharpen. This wouldn't be the way that I would work. I wouldn't sharpen first. It's something I would do towards the end. But again, just showing off the iMac Pro. That's what we're doing. Okay. Perfect. Let's make a crop. Just small. Okay, good. Now we're going to open this in Photoshop. Oh, spinning wheel. It's not perfect, guys. But here we go. Photoshop should open right now with our file. There it is. And again, same things. We're just going to come in here. We'll add the skin touch. Just fix the skin really quickly. I would also do some dodging and burning when I'm working with these files, but for time's sake, I'm just kind of showing you guys just simple things that you guys do in your everyday workflows. Let's go into the brush. This is, again, I would suggest spending a lot more time. I'm working really fast, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm doing and what's happening here. I would definitely slow down if I was delivering these to a client, so I can just perfect what I'm doing. Go back into my skin. You can name these skin. Let's just do that. I won't teach you guys bad habits, but skin, eyes. Perfect. Let's go back into the skin layer. Just gonna retouch a little bit more. Oops. Perfect. Okay. We can choose to merge these or not. I'm just going to flatten the image again, duplicate the layer here. Let's go back into liquify. Perfect. And again, as you can see, I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm not rendering 4K. I'm not working with Hasselblad files, which aren't, to be honest, like some of the Hasselblad files, like if you're working with the H3D or H3D2 or something like that, the image files are going to be comparable, about the same size. If you're working with the new 100 megapixel backs, obviously the files are going to be a lot larger you're working with. But these are the Sony a7R III RAW files, and the iMac Pro has no problem handling them in Capture One or in Lightroom or in Photoshop. So let's just save this back out, and this should go right into Lightroom. And again, pretty instant, like I said. And, you know, here's our before and our after, and you can keep making changes. Again, if I was delivering to a client, I would fix your zipper down here and do a lot of different things to this image to make it right. But for you guys that are just watching and wondering, how does the iMac Pro handle Lightroom and Capture One and Photoshop? And again, I am running OBS behind for the screen capture. I mean, everything is everything's good. So again, these are all from the internal shoot. If you wanted to go back and, you know, I have 971 images in this library, and these are coming off the actual external hard drives. These are running off my SSDs, which, again, if you watch my other videos, you know that workflow, or you can see that workflow, but you can kind of see what I did to kind of get to some of these images and so forth. So yeah, so again, the iMac Pro for photo editing is absolutely awesome. It handles, I have Capture One, Lightroom, and Photoshop and OBS open right now, and it's able to navigate and work with these files very easily. So again, thumbs up, awesome. All right, let's go. Let's talk about my likes and dislikes. So here are some things I love about my iMac Pro. First of all, the display. It's gorgeous. Now, I will run an external display eventually as a reference monitor. I'm not a big fan of glossy screens, and that's what kept me from an iMac for a long time. But I will say having this 5K display on this iMac Pro is simply gorgeous, and I will be running an external display in the future. The second thing I love about this computer is its sheer speed. Like, what's not to love about that? It is so much faster than my 6-core Mac Pro, and I'm happy with it. This one's not really performance-based, but that space gray look that you get it's cool. So I was seriously debating, do I get the 8-core base model, or do I move up for another $800 and get the 10-core, or do I spec out an 8-core with a 16GB video card, or do I add RAM? And so all those things I took into consideration, but at the end of the day, I came from the trash can model 6-core Mac Pro, and I absolutely love that computer. In fact, that computer wasn't holding me back from being creative or doing the work that I needed to do. I was just ready to upgrade, and before the trash cans dropped dramatically in price, I wanted to make sure I was able to get the most out of that system and move to the iMac Pro. Now, there is a Mac Pro coming out in Q1, they're saying, of 2018. The iMac is probably gonna be way more than enough for my needs. In fact, I would say that it's more than enough for my needs. All right, so here are my dislikes. First of all, the cost of the iMac Pro, like, that's a big downside. $5,000 for a computer is a lot of money. Now, I'm not telling you guys to run out and buy this computer because it's gonna change your photography and filmmaking careers. It's seriously a purchase that you have to know that you need, or that you want, or that you've been saving up for. If it's something that you've been saving up for, you've come from like a 2013 Mac Pro and you've been saving over time, then it's a definitely upgrade. If you're selling your 2013 Mac Pro or your 5K iMac to buy this, awesome, like, upgrade if you need it. But if you don't need it, if it's something that it's just more of a commodity than it is a tool that's going to be useful for you in the future, then I would say don't upgrade. But the cost is something that you should definitely take into consideration. $5,000 is a lot of money, and you can do a lot with $5,000, especially in the photography and filmmaking medium. Okay, so another downside of the iMac Pro is its ability to be upgraded. Now, for a lot of you guys, you'll buy the iMac Pro base model and be completely happy with it and never need an upgrade. But if you are needing an upgrade, first of all, you're gonna have to take your computer to an authorized service center for a RAM upgrade. The CPU, it's being reported, might be upgradable. It's not soldered in, it's actually socketed in, which will be amazing if the CPU upgrade is upgradable, but that's not promised at this point. So something that was also a positive for me, but is a negative at the same time, is the glossy display. I'm not a big fan of glossy displays, and I will be buying a second monitor that gives me a better reference point. Now, for a lot of you guys that are just outputting to web and you love glossy displays, it's a win. That's not a downside, but for the way that I work, I want something that has 100% Adobe RGB coverage, and I want something that doesn't have that glossy display, especially when I'm working around lights. So with that being said, it is also a downside. So if you don't like glossy displays, having an external monitor is probably gonna be something that you have to have, or if the P3 color space or color profile isn't something that works for you in the way that you work or your workflow, then you are gonna want something that is Adobe RGB or has more support in sRGB. So that's something to think about. Okay, so overall, am I happy with my iMac Pro? Dude, absolutely. Like, this has been a great upgrade from my 2013 trash can that I had, or my old Mac Pro. I hate calling it a trash can because it was a great computer, but the Mac Pro trash can, it has been a big upgrade from that, and I'm absolutely happy. So if you're looking at an upgrade, you're looking at a computer, and you need just a little bit more power, or you need some more power out of your machine, then look at the iMac Pro. It's awesome. All right, as always, please like this video, share this video, subscribe, and yeah, keep rocking 2018, guys. See ya.